Okay, we're gonna be watching Frikasa, who's playing Rammatra on Blizzard World. This is Bronze 3. So we lost this match, but I don't think we lost it by much. Our offense was good at first, although the damn Junkrat kept killing me and I had no idea what to do. But at the end, all the defense was way too strong and we couldn't move the payload to the end. Our defense phase fell apart extremely quickly. I knew I could have done better, but I don't know how. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Also, I'm very new to Overwatch. I started December 2022. Welcome to the game. I still have ways to go to learn things like the flow of the game, positioning matchups, etc. So advice on that would be great. Okay, so I'm probably not going to do a super long one. I think this is probably my last review of the night. So I'm going to just kind of play through and see what you see. So for starters, because you're in bronze, so you're again very new to Rammatra, the general flow for Rammatra is you walk forward until you encounter the enemy, and then when the enemy does enough damage to you, or would do enough damage to you or your team, that would be dangerous, then you put up your shield, and then you spam. You use your staff, and then when your staff runs out of ammo, you should assess, hey, is this the right opportunity for me to pop Nemesis and push into them? Or should I reload and keep spamming with my staff? And the decision to do one or the other is very complicated, and I think it was probably at the most basic level what's going to separate good Rammatras from bad Rammatras, right? Good Rammatras would be like, yes, this is the time where I can Nemesis, right? Bad Rammatras would be like, I'm going to Nemesis, but then it's the wrong time, and then you end up getting super punished for it. And what are the keys? I don't, even though I play Rammatra right now in Masters, probably soon to be Grandmasters, I like just played games against like top 500 players, several of them yesterday. I don't think that I understand Rammatra well enough to teach it, if that makes sense. Not completely, right? I think that you only can teach something well when you super duper duper understand it. Like I could probably explain, like as Winston, like what my reads are and what exactly I'm doing. As a Rammatra, it's more of a feel thing of like what can I get away with. And I try to like reverse engineer and try to explain like why I made calls, but I don't know so that I always know exactly why I make calls. I also don't know that my calls are always right. Right at this point, I have still less than like 10 hours in Rammatra, something like that, compared to virtually all of my other tanks that I have literally 10 times that amount at. So I think I'm still filling things out, but I'll try to help things help you work through it. So for starter, this shield is way too early, way too early. Okay, number one. Your team is not really making use of this. The only one the shield is blocking off is the Rhine. The fire strikes go through shields, so that's not helping at all. The Mei is at an off angle, so she can clearly shoot through the shield. Like you see, the shield's not blocking her. And if you look at high ground, you can see that the Hanzo is up here, and the shield's not blocking that either. So you've already wasted your very most important ability. Generally speaking, you should basically never waste shields. So I would say that I waste a shield 0 to 1 times per game. Where I used to a waste would be I put the shield down and I'm like, yeah, that was a bad shield. Right? There's shields which are like okay value. There's shields you put down and then they stop attacking and they rotate. That's good. That's still good or at least decent value. Right? This shield I would consider a complete whiff. Like this shield is like completely useless. So what would have been a better shield? First of all, I think you can get a little closer here before you start putting that shield down. Number one. Number two, you could have put the shield right here to block off the Hanzo. Or number three, you could have waited till your team was closer and then put the shield, because you notice the shield is not effective when you stand over here. But the shield is effective if you stand close, right? If I'm standing here, the Mei can't attack me, the Hanzo can't attack me, and so forth. So I think you have quite a few options here as to how to use the shield differently, but putting the shield down early, down on low ground like this, is ultimately not going to get you really any value. So for starters, I would say for starters. Second point I would say here is thinking about who to be attacking with the staff is important. I think the short answer is I would attack my first target would be anyone that I can do a lot of damage at, right? So for example, let's say it's a Roadhog, right? Roadhog has no shields, no damage mitigation unless he's using Vape, which he's not going to use in this situation. If the Roadhog is just standing still here, I would 100% attack the Roadhog, right? Because I'm going to be doing like 200 damage a second, somewhere to 100 to 200, because all my shots are going to hit, and any headshots will double in damage. So I'm going to do somewhere to 100 to 200 damage. I'm for sure going to hit the Roadhog. Okay? So that's kind of target number one. Is anybody I can do a lot of damage to, definitely going to do. Actually, I should take that back. Number one should be anyone that can die. So for example, if there's like a 50 health Tracer here, I would attack her, even though there's a good chance she'll blink away, but she might not, so I'll try to get the kill, right? Anyone who could die, definitely attack them first. Number two, anyone I can do a lot of damage to. Right? So, for example, the Roadhog or any tank like Junker Queen, for example, or even Orisa, if she's just standing here not using the ability, yeah, I would attack that, right? Number two. Number three, Barring that, I would attack anyone that I can do damage to, like directly do health damage to. Okay? Health meaning shield or health, to be clear. These, by the way, in Overwatch, like a lot of people colloquially call these like shields, but in fact they're actually called barriers in a technical sense. So Mei, Hanzo, right, Kiriko, those would all be good targets for me to kind of spam right now. The last target I would attack is a shield. So, or a barrier. Sorry, I should use the correct term, barrier. So Rein's barrier here, which I'm probably going to call shield the rest of the game, I do not want to actually attack that unless I think I'm going to break it, because that wastes your damage and doesn't add any pressure to the opposing team. But hitting this Mei, so for example, walking up here, I probably would have hit this Mei for somewhere between 20 to 50 damage. Seems kind of insignificant, but somebody's got to heal that. You know what I mean? Like that forces their team, their supports, to spend some effort to heal. And for example, this Moira is kind of like too far away right now. If I do damage to this Mei, the Moira has to walk forward to heal. And if she doesn't do that, maybe the Mei ends up ice blocking and uses that ability up. Okay? And if I spam this Hanzo, and this Hanzo will take, let's say, 40 to 80 damage, the Hanzo would be like, this damage is kind of scary. And then he backs up, and then he doesn't attack your team, which is how you create space. Right? The Rein, especially the Rein shield, is the very last thing I would attack here. And that's probably a common theme that we're going to see throughout the game. So now you've come up, and you have no shield, and you have no... oh, man, you also throw a Vortex here. Okay, we have to break this video into a second part because of technical difficulties. So I think I was talking about Vortex, right? So let's talk about Vortex a little bit for Rammatra. So for Vortex, there are two different reasons why you throw Vortex. Number one is to get a kill. So for example, they're trying to run away. You throw Vortex where they're going, it slows them down, that makes it easier to hit with your staff, that makes them easier to hit with your punch, that makes it easier for your team to catch them. That's a kill. Okay? Or they're very low. You throw Vortex at them, it does 15 damage a second, it just kills them. If they're around a corner, cover, doesn't matter, they'll die. That's pretty rare, but it does happen. Number two is to get people to move somewhere else. Okay? So typically people don't want to stand in Vortex. Why not? Well, first of all, it does 15 damage a second. It doesn't last long enough to kill anybody, but it's still annoying and it lowers their health, A. B, they move slower, which makes everyone nervous because nobody wants to be moving like molasses when the enemy team is pushing into you because you can't dodge very well. You can't retreat, right? So those are the two reasons to be throwing Vortex, and you should be very cognizant of like when and where and why you'd be throwing Vortex. Similar to Shield, every Vortex you throw should get you some value. Okay? So let's kind of brainstorm what are some possible places I could throw Vortex. Well, number one, I could throw it right here at this Rein. Right? I could toss it right around the corner right here. Well, what would happen? Well, the Rein would probably try to leave the Vortex, right? I would assume he'd probably back away from this angle, or maybe go to the left. But I would assume he'd probably back away from the angle if I toss Vortex at him. Which is nice. Okay. Not like great value, but it's okay. I could, for example, toss Vortex and pop Nemesis and punch him a bunch because he can't attack me because Vortex will slow him down way too much, right? It'll be very easy for me to punch him. Okay, there's now a third part of this video. I don't know what's going on. But, so, again, we were talking about throwing Vortex at Rein. So that's certainly an option, okay? Not, like, a great option, but not a terrible option. Option number two, I could chuck it at this Mei. Well, that would definitely get the Mei to leave and probably stop poking at us, right, with their icicles. But she's also really far away, so it's pretty hard to throw this Vortex this far away. So definitely not a great option. Option number three is I could throw a Vortex here. It's a hard toss, but I would say this is the highest value that you're going to get out of Vortex. If you throw a Vortex like right around here, the Hanzo's not going to stay here. He's definitely going to drop. And that's probably the highest value Vortex that you can get. Okay? As to which one you actually choose, I mean, sort of up to you, but I think those are only three reasonable options you have here. Where do you end up throwing your Vortex? Well, this, obviously, is not a good Vortex. It's not useful in any way. Nobody's in it. Nobody's trying to move through the space that it's in. It doesn't help you get a kill, and it doesn't force people to move. So, this is a bad Vortex. And you would think every Vortex you throw, was that a good Vortex? So I would say at my last level, at High Masters, right, I would say that I do whiff Vortexes. I think that Vortex is still a pretty tough skill to land and takes a lot of experience to do. So I probably whiff something like 15 to 20% of my Vortexes over the course of a game. Not a lot, but not an insignificant number. Not like Shields. I almost never whiff Shields. But Vortexes, I definitely whiff Vortexes. So something that you want to kind of improve upon. Okay, so You have no shield, and you have no vortex, and you're low, right? Not that low, but you're down to like about 60% health. So what should you do in the situation? Well, let's see what you actually end up doing. You poke the Mei. So I think this is actually kind of reasonable. What you do is that you take cover here, right? Because you're not trying to get too aggressive. You poke the Mei. You did a pretty good job tracking there with the Mei. You see the Mei was hacked, and now you try to punch, right? And you try to kill the Mei because you're like, hey, look, she's like hacked. We're focusing her. I think this is a reasonable call to try to get her here. So you completely whiff that punch, which is unfortunate. The problem is you overcommit to this Mei. Because remember that Mei has Ice Block, okay? And Ice Block is always going to save her from basically anything in the game. The hack is not going to last long enough, and I know you're new to the game, so you're not going to know this, but I knew this. The hack is not going to last long enough to kill her. So you're going to get one more punch here, and then she's going to get blocked, right? I guess you actually could have gotten... I'm surprised that she doesn't block earlier. She gets hacked here, so she could have blocked right now. So yeah, you could have gotten one more punch in, but definitely not enough to kill her. Like, she wasn't even close to dying. So instead of walking into her face to try to get the kill, you should have used the distance here to just get another punch. And then you can hit the Rein, hit the Mei, and stay out of swing range. As a general rule, when you're fighting Rammatra versus Rein, if you're getting hit by the hammer, you are doing something wrong. Okay? Because you can outrange the hammer with staff, and then when you're in Nemesis form, you're faster and you have longer range. So you can attack, right? Attack, and just keep kiting him backwards. So you put yourself in kind of a tricky situation right now. You really do not want to keep aggressing, because if you keep aggressing into the Mei, she's going to come out, and then she's going to ice wall you off, right? You have to understand that forcing Ice Block was already a victory, and don't get greedy and try to get more. There's no reason that this Mei should die here. She has both supports alive, her tank is alive, she's around the corner, your team is not able to help, you should not be able to kill the Mei here. But instead you try way too hard to kill this Mei, and then you die, right? So the right call here would have been, after you did this, you force Ice Block, right? I would have been here instead of where you are, right? Which difference would be whether or not you get hit by Rein. And then I would back up here, punch. If the Rein tries to hide around the corner, then I swing to the left and do punch, like that. So this is a horrible overcommitment, and then you die. Overextension. There's literally no reason that you should have died there. So you come again. Again, the wall off. But the thing is, like, no one's really using this shield. Right? No one's, like, really attacking that shield or anything like that. I think you could have waited longer for that shield. You attack through the wall, which is fine. I think you're waiting to regroup here, because you lost one. Don't stand still, right? Mei's gonna hit you with bicycles. So, at this point, like, if you have nothing else, just keep attacking the right? Your ammo's free, right? It's not like you pay for your bullets, so, yeah, you know, just attack, right? Now, and go here and think, do I have an advantage in any way? Okay? Every single attack is, do I have an advantage in any way? If I don't have an advantage, I have to play safe. If I have advantage, then I can push. If I have a disadvantage, then why am I attacking? So, looking at this right now, first of all, they're all full health. Okay? There's 2 on the point here, which is like maybe an advantage, but you're also down 1, because remember that you know your Genshi's dead. So it's just you and 2 supports right now against a tank, a DPS, and a support. And that's not a good fight for you, because you're just not going to do enough damage here. Right? You alone just not going to do enough damage here to win this fight. And I understand that the Sombra is distracting here. Right? This is a much better vortex for the record. Sombra is distracting, but like you just can't win this fight. Like mathematically, you just literally can't do enough damage to kill him. And because you run around the corner here, instead of, for example, if you want to fight, you could just stay here, just punch. There's no Hanzo on high ground anymore to deal damage to you, right? You could just stay here, punch, right? Like kite the Rein so you never get hit and constantly keep dealing damage, and your support's gonna heal you if you made a mistake. But at this point, you're way too far in front. Even if the wall wasn't here, they would have trouble healing you. Then you're wandering around here. Again, there's no LOS to your team. You're trying way too hard to try to fight people, and then you're gonna die. So that's the second death in a row where there's no real reason for that to have happened. Oh wow, you're gonna get rezzed here. Okay? So when you get rezzed, you should think, okay, what should I do? So I think as a default rule, you should pretty much always try to shield before you go into Nemesis. The reason being is that shield cooldown lasts almost slightly longer than Nemesis, so it's almost like a free shield. And that shield, while it may not be useful for you, could be useful for your team. So I think you should pop shield right away, like right here, for example, and then pop Nemesis and then toss Vortex and do whatever you're gonna do, because the shield's free. So you pop this right away. You see the Mei's low. Does she have block? She does not. You miss. Oh, bad miss. Right, so it doesn't seem like she had block yet. So you have 1 chance to kill her here. And then I think you could have hit her twice because you pause here. Yeah, you could have hit her twice there. So you had 2 attempts to kill her, and you only got 1 attempt off, and you didn't get the kill. So now, they're low. So before, remember when we talked about advantages? Now you have an advantage, because your Genji is here, so it's now 5 on 2, basically, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, Sombra's here too. Oh no, your Genji, your Mercy's on. Okay, so you have 4 up here, 4 against 2, and you know the Mei doesn't have Ice Block. So that removes something that she could use to prevent you from killing her, and both her and the Rhine are at half health. This is an advantage. This is where you should push forward very aggressively, right? So in this situation, I want to throw Vortex down at them, right, to start forcing them backwards, and then I want to walk into them. Because if Rhine starts swinging, I'm going to do so much damage that he's going to die. Get Vortex. See, this is what happens when you let the Rhine hit you too many times. He gets Shatter quite early. You should block. So, you know, the issue kind of here is you let the Rhine get way too much ult charge from hitting you constantly, which means that he gets Shatter earlier than I think I would even expect in the situation, unless I was playing it and saw how much damage the Rhine was doing. And then once he gets Shattered, it's really hard for you to recover. Like, it's not a lot that you could have changed differently there, other than not having fed the Rhine that much Shatter. That's ult charge. But, you know, that's fine. Now you're gonna have ult advantage here, right? So you have a tank ultimate and they don't, which is great. The problem is also this is now like your 3rd attack or so, 4th attack. It's been a while. It's been round starts at 45 seconds, so it's been 2 minutes, almost 2.5 minutes. So at this point, I would assume everybody should have their ultimates now on the opposing team, which is gonna be problematic because you're gonna need to die some in order to force out those ultimates. Well, you need to attack so that they will kill you and then force the ultimates out. It's good to attack backline, yep. Try to line up two at once. So once the Rhine starts stepping forward at you, don't get greedy, right? Once he starts doing this, start walking backwards. You should go backwards now, not forwards. Right, so you're going to go for this play, which is okay. I think this is too aggressive, in my opinion. So you haven't really forced anything else out here. And so I'm not looking to be like, oh, hey, I like want to try to go in. Like, they have all 5 people alive right now, so you don't really have a significant advantage here. But you just try to pop your ulti like so fast here, and the issue is A, you can get charged, B, you can get walled off, C, the Moira can fade away, right? So I wouldn't think that I can necessarily get a ton of value here. The Bride actually did you a favor, charging you out of Blizzard. So you should go. I think it's a reasonable Vortex. Right, go for the Mei. Great. Okay, put down a shield right now. Right, like a shield right here. It gives you a lot of space to work with it. Chase him down. It's obviously not the best aim here, but it's fine. We'll take it. Charge. Right, he dies, which is pretty much expected. Okay, you're gonna cap first point. So you end up doing okay there. I think the ulti was fine. I personally would have gone for the ulti, but I think it did actually work out better than I expected. So Mei walls popped. Okay, so now they're playing Sigma. I think for starters, recognizing the Sigma's position, I throw Vortex here to prevent the Sigma from getting away. That way he's effectively stuck right now. So I think you're forgetting about Vortex. You see how that Vortex doesn't give you much value, right? The Kiriko immediately walks out of it. But if you threw the Vortex behind the Sig would get caught in the open and have to fight your entire team. I think attacking the Moira here is a good call. Yep, Mei has no ice block. Sig does a good job saving here. Great. Keep pushing. He's good. No, nope, no, doesn't that fade? So second point going pretty smoothly so far. Now they've got Orisa. Again, this shield is not great. I think you really want the shield back here to get value, but it doesn't seem like they want to contest anyway. This is good tracking. I think your aim is actually pretty good. I'd say your aim is definitely better than Bronze for sure.
As I say that, you with the hunt, right? Two, you hit the 3 up there, so you're 3 for 4, 3 for 5. Rough. Just one more hit would have been. By the way, you can melee still, even with punches, right? So you can do punch, 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 melee, which instantly does 210 damage at the final for the final attack to kill 200 health heroes. So dying here is totally fine because again, you're already capped, so who cares? Yep, attack the Moira. You can get aggressive. Just nope, don't walk in the dragon. But otherwise, you can get aggressive, like into her face. She popped the Blizzard for some weird reason. Cool. She got the Orisa. So the other team is just like stuck in permanent stagger mode, right? They're just never getting a team fight right now because they constantly keep dying. Sorry, yet another part to this video due to technical difficulties. Okay, so rewinding back here to the point. So you're pushing forward again. They're just constantly staggered. Now they've gone Doom. Their other tank just really loves swapping. Look at this Vortex. So I can already tell this Vortex was too far. If you hit it at the front corner, that would have been a really good value, but you threw this way too far back. So you're going to have ulti here. You know the other tank doesn't have ulti because he's been swapping constantly. So you go for the Doom, which is not ideal. I think that what you want to read here is, okay, like how do I win this fight? And it's very complicated for me to explain. My gut instinct here is that you can just kind of keep moving the cart, zone the front, and let your backline deal with the Doom. I think that you turning around to attack the Zoom is bad because it allows the Hanzo and the Junkrat to shoot your team unopposed. And if the Doom dives your team and he holds block, what are you going to do to him anyway? Right? You're not going to do any damage. But meanwhile, the 2 DPS can do a lot of damage. So I think it makes most sense to throw a very aggressive shield here, ignore the Doom completely, walk up here, and start fighting here, then pop Nemesis, force cooldowns, then cancel Nemesis and pop ulti. That's the way I think that is the trick to win this, but you don't want to speed it up too fast because you need to give your team time to peel the Doom. So you see how, again, you're fighting the Doom right now, and you see that their backline gets to walk forward and start putting a lot of pressure on you. Right? So this death that you have does not happen if you did not chase the Doom, because you would have shield here. Right? Again, see how you shield right now? You could have shield, walk up, and just attack from here. And then if they try to push through the shield, pop Nemesis. So that's the single biggest thing, is that you're too preoccupied with trying to kill the Doom. Which, yeah, I mean, the Doom does end up dying, but it's not worth it. Right? So you're going to regroup your team. It's a 4-on-4, but they have short spawn, so they have the advantage here, so you need to kill people quickly. But that seems like it's going to work pretty fast. I think popping ulti here is okay. Yep. Just kill. Yep. Great. Don't walk in the Junkrat post-mortem grenades. Yep. Punching. Again, remember the Vortex is super helpful. I would just hop the Vortex where he is to slow him down. Prevents him from jumping as well. It's going to take a while. Okay. In the interest of time, I'm just going to keep going forward. You're very clearly going to cap the point. Nope. You're not going to cap the point. Oh, okay. Alright, never mind. So, at this point, with okay, so let's kind of rewind this, because this actually becomes a good talking point. So, over here, you see the Doom, right? You're kind of punching the Doom. You see the Mercy come in, you should have gone for the Mercy. Okay, that's like kind of the big one. And additionally, you have Vortex, which is good against Mercy because it pulls her down to the ground. So tossing Vortex right here would suck the Mercy down, and then you can use that opportunity to kill Mercy or kill the Kiriko or whomever. So that's kind of a big issue. Also, you should be putting shield here, so for example right here, to prevent this Hanzo from killing your team. So just making sure to use all of your abilities as Rammatra is very important. And I know it's kind of tough because there's a lot going on. Walking inside dragon is bad, but you have to remember to use all those abilities. And then also recognize, like, again, I think you're over-prioritizing the tank when the Doom goes in. I would not throw this Vortex, because the Vortex is not going to get you any value. But first of all, it's too far. Second, it's like now, like imagine if you threw Vortex right here. This would be great value for Vortex. Okay, so you're blocking here for no reason despite the fact that you're full health, right? Not a good call. Because you really need to be doing damage right now. You should have been going for the Kiriko. So the Kiriko has maybe Swift Step. Is your team even here? Where the heck because you're missing one. I guess it's overtime, so you have to be fighting this right now. But don't forget there is a Mega right here that you could have grabbed if you had time. But Moira got grabbed anyway. So you're not going to get this. Yeah, unfortunate. Okay. So let's jump over to offense now, or defense. So you're sitting up here, waiting for the team to come up. So once again, I think your shield is way too early. Like, I don't even think that you need a shield, right? You could probably just stand here and just dodge and shoot. And just save shield for a little longer. You should attack at head level. So this is chest level versus head level. That way you get more headshots. Headshots do a surprising amount of damage. So she cleaves. So by the way, easy opportunity when she cleaves, when you hear the and then you block, and then block the impact damage at least. So you want that shield to be closer to you probably, because they can easily walk through the shield and you are low. So I'm going to expect them to try to walk through the shield very soon, which is exactly what the queen does. So right here, you have an opportunity to throw Vortex and catch the queen, because she's overextended, right? She's walked through the shield, she's trying to commit on your Reaper. You can just throw Vortex right now and then probably kill her along with your Reaper. So now the Vortex is less helpful because, again, she's being healed, your team's not really able to follow up, and then now this happens. So once again, when she pops Commanding Shout, it gives her like 200 health. So, which is going to decay pretty quickly. So what's the point of punching it unless your whole team is targeting her to burn her down fast? I think it makes far more sense to punch the Junkrat here, or the Kiriko, or the Hanzo. Right? You only did a net of like one punch, like 80 damage there, before it faded, effectively. So, looking, your Moira's died already, so things are going to get bad. Why does your Moira die? Oh, she's playing on the right side. So you're trying to save her, but again, it's tough. That's not really your fault anymore. Really should have had fade there. And at this point, don't jump, right? You see how your jumping is actually causing you to miss a lot. That's a miss. And then I don't know if that was a miss. Maybe it was a miss. Pop Vortex, right? Shield. I think it's a good idea, right? You have the right idea trying to stay in this corner. I like that. But at the end of the day, you know, without your Moira, you're pretty much not gonna win that fight. And I think it comes down to recognizing like better Vortex usage. Okay, this Vortex, fine, maybe fine. I think I really wanted the Vortex here when she steps forward. Vortexing right here would have been absolutely huge, and I'm pretty sure the Junker Queen dies in that situation. But then at this point, I think this Vortex is okay value, but like not as much because now she has Shout. I think for Queen, you probably want to save. I'm just like kind of thinking through this on the fly. I think you probably want to save Vortex against Queen for when she shouts to prevent her from getting any value. Because if she shouts, she definitely thinks she's going to kill somebody. So if you pop Vortex, that will totally shut down her Shout. So that's the way I think through it right now is don't toss them willy-nilly against Queen. Save Vortex for Shout and use that to counter. So right now you're just spamming to try to get ult charge. Again, this shield's too far forward because the queen is going to step in front of it and shoot you. Because you're quite low right now, the queen definitely could kill you. So you're also doing a bad job fighting around the corner, okay? Your Ashe is not really able to help you here, but their whole team is able to shoot you. So if anything, you should be playing this close corner right here to prevent the rest of the team from attacking you while your Reaper goes and does whatever he's doing. So this is bad. I'll definitely throw Vortex here and try to, yeah, I mean, not a lot you could do once you were in that situation. That's what happens when they just have ult advantage. Ult advantage, you were too low and too extended to be able to get out of that. So again, another shield, but like, what are you shielding off here, right? There's a Rezzing Mercy and a Kiriko who's not even looking at you. You have to be more conscious of your shield choice. So I think you are also underestimating how much damage Junker Queen does. Okay, you pop ulti here. I think this is a reasonable ulti time. I think the problem is that the Junkrat's moving further and further away from his team. But if you can get it, then I'm not going to complain. There's a trap there. You saw him throw the trap down. Yeah, you saw him throw a trap right there. Also, remember you have Vortex, which makes your life a lot easier. It makes it way easier to hit shots. You block, which is the right call. You could have released it, tried to run a little further, but ultimately your back just gets cleaned up here. So I think the biggest problem here, again, is I don't think you're playing the Junker Queen matchup well, and I think that's kind of messing you up. So I think if we go by what I mentioned earlier, which is using Vortex to counter Queen, Queen Shout rather, I think that would go a long way to keeping your team alive, right? I would be like, okay, the Queen's going, I toss Vortex right here, and then I just spam her, and then she probably doesn't aggress, right? But instead, you kind of let her walk through you, and then she goes in your back line, right? She forces out Lamp right now. She's still fighting your back line. Right? Your back line's doing a pretty good job staying alive, but the problem is you're like so far away chasing this one pocketed Junkrat, and now they have to deal with the Junker Queen. Again, I mean, they even kill, or I mean, she kills the Moira here, but they're doing a pretty good job staying alive. But you need to come back a lot sooner. I don't think you should have chased the Junkrat. I think you should just stay here main, and peel the Junker Queen first before trying to dive backline. I think it's too greedy. Again, that shield way too far off. I'm sure you realize that. Vortex is also off, but luckily she walks into it. This ulti is honestly fine. I would take this. Like, we're probably gonna lose this fight anyway, and like they just capped, so whatever. I would just try to farm ulti here. Like, you're probably gonna die. Well, I mean, if she's gonna let you live, then live. I think you're trying to suicide here based on one look. I think you're trying to suicide, which I think is okay. I think you also could have gotten away there, but it's fine. Again, not a good shield, right, for aforementioned reasons. Clearly nobody is using the shield. There's nobody attacking the shield. Not any value. I think it's a good Vortex, but again, I think you should save Vortex for this. I think this game very much cements in my head the idea that you probably should save Vortex for Queen Shout. Don't walk into her. That makes it easier for her to cleave. Yeah, because every single time she shouts, she basically wins the fight. Because you're not doing enough to slow down or stop her. Getting some cleanup kills, great. Wait, okay, so... Wait, where is this tire? When did the tire get popped? Okay, tire gets popped right now. So the correct response is to come back to your team, put down a shield, and then throw down Vortex, and then pop Nemesis and try to punch the tire. Tire does 600 damage, so it cannot one-shot you from full health while you're in Nemesis form. And the shield is there to prevent your supports from dying as much as possible. So for example, a shield like right here would be very helpful for the swords to try to zone it. So you could, again, come back, pop shield, pop Vortex, right? Vortex is good because it'll do some chip damage to the tire, which might be enough to kill it, because your punch only does 80 damage. So, and then you pop Nemesis, or 60 damage. 60 damage. Then you pop Nemesis, and then you basically kind of like look around and wait for the tire and try to punch it and bait it into blowing up on you. Right? You can also try to block time it too, but again, you won't die from it as long as you are in Nemesis form. You're in Omnic form, so you only 450, which means you die. Again, I think you should put the shield down earlier. That way you don't try to reactively shield, which is quite difficult. Oh boy. So you kind of have trouble readjusting your aim. Right, you get pulled here. You probably like edge of the mouse pad or something because you're clearly like not able to recenter her on your screen. And then you have the option of popping Nemesis here. So by the way, in pressure situations like this, just hold down Shift, and then you'll pop it the instant that it's up. It's very, very close here, like whether or not you would have gotten it off, but just as a general tip to let you know. And then they're just gonna cap and win this. So I think offense, as you said, went pretty well, and then defense fell apart a lot more. I think the primary issue is that you're just not dealing well with the Junker Queen. Basically, every single time she pops Shout, she runs into your team, and she just kills your whole backline, because Rammatra is not a high damage tank, and you don't really have a lot of tools to stop her, like punching. You can't like punch her to death faster than she kills your team. So I think, again, number one, better shield placements would help your team. But number two, Vortex, saving Vortex for Queen Shout would be absolutely huge. And I think that probably is the difference between winning or losing here, is just vortexing her every time she shouts to prevent her from getting value from it. I think is definitely worth the trade. Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. Okay, so overall tips for Rammatra, I think I covered them at the beginning of the video. Again, talking about good shield usage, good vortex usage. I think that you could probably spend more time in Omnic form before popping Nemesis on a regular basis. I think you can get a little more damage out in staff form. But I think you get the general flow of it, right? And again, letting the Rhine hit you is pretty sloppy, and I think that's something that you also need to work on, is to stay out of the range of the Rhine attacks. Also, all those times that you died from overextending, that's something that you're going to work through and figure out, like, what is an overextension. And honestly, you're not going to learn that except by playing and dying. And when you die, you're like, okay, that was too far. So I think those are my general tips. I think your aim, again, aim is definitely doesn't feel like an issue. I feel like your aim is way better than bronze, so I wouldn't be fretting about that at all, right? I think your aim is probably at least low gold level, right? It's going to be everything else for the abilities, game sense, etc., that are going to be holding you back. Okay, cool. That concludes that. Hopefully this video is helpful.